Well, good morning. Welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. So glad to have you with us. I had a couple pieces of chicken that I needed to use, and I also had 3 ears of corn, not enough to feed a whole family. So I made chicken corn chowder to stretch it out. And oh my, it was yummy. Here are the ingredients I used. You can pause and write those down. And hey, if you like our channel and our video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. If you click the little bell at the top right, you'll get a notice when I post new videos about twice a week. Now let's get cooking. I have a stick of butter melting in my enameled cast iron pot, and I have a mirepoix here. That's 1 whole onion, chopped pretty large, a stick of celery, and 2 carrots that I sliced. And I'm going to put those down in the butter. Now I'll explain that you're going to see some little hands here that are not mine. That's my 4-year-old great-grand who is standing in a chair right beside me because she wants to help. So I'm going to put the mirepoix, the veggies, down in the butter, and Athena's going to stir a little bit. Now I don't put a lot of seasoning in this, and I'll put it all in there right now. I'm going to add a teaspoonful of salt, and then I'm going to add a ½ teaspoonful of cumin. If you don't use cumin very often, or if you're not familiar with it at all, it's really good to add to your meat-based soups and stews. It just really deepens the flavor. It's one of my favorite spices to use. And that's the cumin. And I've got my pepper grinder over here. And I often use red pepper flakes, but in this I'm going to put some black pepper. I'm going to show Athena how to use the pepper grinder. Nope, that doesn't work that way, sweetie. Let's show you how to turn it. And I'm going to put a fair amount in here. I don't eat a lot of black pepper, but when I do, it has to be freshly ground black pepper. I usually season with red pepper flakes. I have my heat on about medium, and I'm just going to let those veggies, after I stir in the seasoning, sit and simmer until the onions start to get a little translucent. And then I'm going to add the corn. Now I had 3 ears of fresh corn, and I cut it off, where you cut off part of the kernel and then you scrape the cob so that it gets kind of milky, and that adds a little thickening to the chowder. If you don't have fresh corn, 1 can of whole kernel corn works just fine, or that much frozen corn. But you want to put a little bit of it in your food processor and blend it up just to sort of loosen up the starch, and then put it all into the chowder. My friend Linda on the YouTube channel Hands That Cook, that's Hands That Cook, makes a great chowder with a can of whole kernel and a can of creamed corn. You might want to check hers out sometime when you're looking for different kinds of recipes. So then we're going to add in potatoes. That's 2 medium-sized potatoes, and I chopped them up in little bitty chunks. I want them to cook along with the other veggies, and we'll get just a little bit of browning on them. There'll be a lot of liquid. This won't brown a whole lot. That's why I did just the mirepoix first. And then we'll add the chicken. Now I've cut 2 chicken thighs up into fairly small pieces. And I'll stir that all in with it. You can make this chowder with any kind of meat you want, or you can make it without the meat at all. We kind of like meat stews and soups and chowders. So I'm going to let all of this simmer together on a medium heat for about 10 minutes. And then I'll be back. So I think it's just about ready now. I'll check it by cutting into one of the carrots. And I don't have a good hold on this, but you can cut through it. When you can cut through it with your spoon, it's ready for the next step. And of course, you know it's going to all simmer together more, so if it's not, they shouldn't be totally done right now, just softened enough to cut them with the spoon. This is a 1/4 cup of flour. And we'll have some thickening from the potatoes, and we'll have a little bit of thickening from the corn, but it won't be enough. I'm serving these in bread bowls, and it needs to be a sturdy, thick soup, kind of creamy. So I'm stirring in some flour in with the veggies. That'll help a little browning. And that only needs to cook about 2 or 3 minutes, still on medium heat. And I'm pouring in 2 cups of chicken broth. And you can use chicken broth no matter which meat you use, but if you want to add beef broth with beef, this works great. So I'm just going to stir that up, and as long as your chicken broth was room temperature or less, and your soup, your chowder, is hot, it's not going to make lumps. But I'm just stirring it together. And then I'm going to let this sit here on the stove and simmer for 15 to 20 minutes, or until everything is nice and done. So now I'm tasting for salt. And I did use salted chicken broth, so if I need more, I won't need much more. But you know, potatoes, they really need a good bit of salt for flavor. So I'm going to add in another pinch of salt, a healthy pinch. And then we have just one more step. So we cook it until we're sure that everything is done enough. The chicken and the potatoes and the carrots. I don't want anything too crunchy in here. And then I'm adding 2 cups of half and half. You can use whole milk in this. I wouldn't use 2%. I want this to be really rich to go in my bread bowls. So I've added 2 cups of half and half. Now all that's left to do is to let it come back up to temperature. You don't want to boil it once you put the milk in, the cream in. And so I'm just going to let it sit here, come back to a simmer, and then plate it up. And here's one of my bread bowls that I baked. Athena and I baked these, and I cleaned the inside of it out. So I've got plenty of room here for 3 big scoops of soup of chicken corn chowder. I'm going to have the video for this bread bowl in the end notes. You'll see it pop up. These bread bowls were, they were just yummy. Then a slice of your favorite cheese on top and under the broiler. Just long enough to melt that cheese. And ooh, this is a great dinner. Big chunks of veggies. Wonderful bread bowl. And some wild and untamable cheese. Let me pull that up. Yep, one of my favorite soups. Is so great on a cold winter day. It's all rainy and nasty outside, so we've got something to warm us up inside. I hope you try this recipe. Hope you try the bread bowls too. And I hope you like them both. Hope to see you again tomorrow.